Getting online, for a lot of us, it's something we don't even think about. It's like breathing. But what if it wasn't? For the next billion people coming online, it's a whole world of hidden hurdles and tough choices. So today, we're going to dive into what it really takes to design tech for these challenging spots and what it teaches us about building a better internet for all of us.
So, let me ask you something. Think about the last time you watched a video online. Maybe some funny clip your friend sent you. What did you do? You probably just tapped a link, the app opened, and you hit play. Done. It's a single, thoughtless action, right?
Well, for someone in, say, Mumbai, wanting to watch that exact same video kicks off a whole strategic plan. As you can see here, it's a completely different world. They're not just thinking about the video. They're thinking about data costs, about Wi-Fi availability, about whether it's better to just ask a friend to share it later. The simple act of pressing play becomes this complex game of resource management. And that's the reality we're jumping into today.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at the real, true cost of data and why just having Wi-Fi isn't the magic bullet. Then, we'll get into what happens when the entire internet just disappears. And finally, we'll pull it all together and see what this all teaches us about designing for the world as it actually is.
First up, let's talk about the true cost of data. And for this, we're going to head to Ghana to see how Google ran into a huge problem. The fact that for most of the world, mobile data is both super expensive and incredibly confusing.
And wow, this slide really puts it all into perspective. Here in the US, the internet costs less than 1% of the average income. But you hop over to Uganda, and it's a staggering 11%. When data costs that much, every single kilobyte matters. Every website you visit is literally a financial decision.
And we're not just talking about abstract economics. This quote from the research, it really drives home the human side of this. People are actually making choices between staying connected and buying food. That's the real weight behind every single megabyte.
So, researchers found that the problem wasn't just the price tag, it was the language of the price tag. Techie terms like megabytes or kilobytes don't really mean anything to most people. And this creates what they call data anxiety, this constant, nagging fear of spending too much, which leads a lot of people to just keep their data turned off.
And this is where this solution comes in. And it is just brilliant. It's a feature called Smart Browse. Instead of showing data in those confusing megabytes, it translates everything into the one language that everybody on Earth understands: money. All of a sudden, your data balance and the cost to load a web page are shown in Ghanaian cedi. It's simple, it's clear, and it puts the user back in control.
And get this, the results were incredible. A single, simple pop-up alert that just warned people, hey, this website is a little heavy on data, was responsible for 55% of all the money users saved. It just goes to show, when you give people information they can actually understand, they make way smarter choices.
Okay, so we've seen the economic problem, but what happens when you make the internet free and you run headfirst into a very human barrier? For that, we're going to India, where Google learned a tough lesson. Free Wi-Fi just isn't enough.
Now, on paper, the process for logging into the free Wi-Fi was dead simple. We've all done this a million times, right? You put in your phone number, they text you a code, you type in the code, and boom, you're online. Easy.
But it wasn't easy at all. For so many women, that very first step, giving out their personal phone number, was a total deal breaker. This quote really gets to the heart of it. There's this deep, totally legitimate fear that comes from real-world experience with harassment. In that context, privacy and safety, they aren't just features, they are the absolute price of admission.
So the solution had nothing to do with technology, really. It was about designing for trust. And as you can see, that meant doing a lot of little things right. Adding a simple, direct promise like, your number is safe with us, creating an FAQ that tackled those real fears head-on, and even hiring actual human Wi-Fi agents to help people and build that trust in person.
So, we've talked cost and we've talked trust, but what happens when the entire digital world just vanishes? For our last case study, we're going to the 2015 Chennai floods, a crisis that taught us some pretty profound lessons about what it means to be resilient.
The crisis escalated with terrifying speed. You had the heaviest rainfall in a century, then reservoir gates were opened practically overnight. A day later, 60% of the city has no power. And of course, when the power goes out, the cell towers go down with it. The city was plunged into a total information blackout.
Now look at the tools people actually use to survive. It's this fascinating mix of high-tech and, well, no-tech. You had volunteers in the few spots with power, coordinating rescue efforts on WhatsApp and Google Sheets. But for most people,
The critical tools were things like battery-powered radios, a simple pen and paper, and just good old-fashioned word of mouth. People used whatever worked, whatever was available.
And in this total information vacuum, something amazing happened. Misinformation was spreading like wildfire. Rumors of crocodiles in the streets, things like that. So local celebrities, like famous actors and cricket players, they stepped up. They started using their huge social media followings to verify information, adding a special #verified hashtag to real calls for help.
But, and this is a big but, here's the harsh reality that this chart shows so clearly. Those online cries for help, those verified tweets, they were almost all coming from wealthier neighborhoods. The people in low-income areas, the ones who were hit the absolute hardest by the floods, were digitally invisible. The information just wasn't getting to the people who needed it most. So what do we do with all this? What's the big takeaway? Well, these stories from Ghana, India, and Chennai, they're not just interesting edge cases. They actually teach us some fundamental rules for building technology that works for everybody, everywhere.
And we can give this whole idea a name: Infrawork. It's the practice of not just dealing with constraints, but actively embracing them. It's about looking at things like high costs, spotty connections, and even crises, not as problems to ignore, but as design challenges to solve head-on.
And these stories give us 3 basic principles for Infrawork. Number 1, always design for a world that's often offline or has a shaky connection. 2, speak the user's language, whether that's showing costs in their currency, not your tech jargon. And 3, build safety and trust into the very foundation of your design. Don't just tack it on at the end.
And this right here is the most powerful lesson of all. When you design for the toughest conditions imaginable, you don't just end up with a niche product for a specific market. You end up creating a globally superior product. An app that works offline is a lifesaver for someone in rural Nigeria, sure, but it's also amazing for someone riding the subway in New York.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Imagine your favorite apps, your maps, your messaging, your banking app. What if they were built with these ideas in mind? What if they had to work perfectly offline, if they had to respect your budget and earn your trust from the very first moment you open them? They wouldn't just be better for the next billion users, they'd be a whole lot better for you too.